So, I managed to tear myself away from watching this movie every day since it released. What I mean is I ran out of ways to get to the theater, so I have to stop. So I'm finally gonna try to cobble something together and talk about it a bit. Deadpool and Wolverine is the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the third movie of the Deadpool trilogy, but the first one that was produced by Disney. Despite that, it still managed to maintain its R rating and trademark Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool humor. It also features the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, reprising his iconic character after the send-off he got with the genre-breaking film Logan. Now, this isn't a spoiler to say because it was in the release trailers, but this isn't the same Wolverine we've seen from the first Fox X-Men film up to now. This is an entirely different character, a product of Marvel's transition to the multiverse ever since Avengers Endgame. Now, some people have said that the MCU feels post-Endgame like a game wherein the main story has already concluded and all that's left is a series of side quests. While that may be true and I'm inclined to agree, the MCU has felt very disconnected for a good while. That doesn't mean they can't still put out good movies, though. People say they're tired of multiverse stories, but I think back to what a friend of mine said once when we were having a debate regarding the Spider-Verse movies. We're not tired of the multiverse. We're tired of the multiverse being written poorly. Any story, as long as it's written well, can work. If Marvel had been releasing hit after hit with their TV shows and post-Endgame films, this superhero fatigue, I feel, wouldn't exist. Too much of a good thing can be bad, sure, but too much of a dull and bland thing is even worse. It's gotten to the point where I, someone who saw practically every film up to Endgame in theaters, barely have the energy to consume MCU content anymore unless there's something particularly interesting about it to catch my attention, like Spider-Man No Way Home. Deadpool and Wolverine naturally has this, featuring the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, the iconic character he's played for over 20 years now. There's been a lot of hype surrounding this movie, and I cannot lie and say I wasn't on this bandwagon. I've been excited and eagerly awaiting for this movie's release since the first announcement on Ryan Reynolds' YouTube channel. Starting right off, Deadpool's signature humor is alive and intact in this movie. It had me laughing throughout the entirety of the runtime. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, and while I thought for the longest time these movies had destroyed the integrity of his original character in the comics, I think there's plenty of depth and layers to him, especially now that I've finally sat down and watched Deadpool 2 in preparation for this movie. There is a heart at the core of this character, and you can tell Ryan loves what he does and the character he portrays. He's filled with an infectious energy, and while I've heard he tends to use this same brand of humor in other projects, I've only ever seen Ryan's work in Deadpool, so that keeps the uniqueness of his style and humor fresh for me, and it is definitely a ride to experience. The plot is kinda messy, but I also don't think it's the movie's main focus. It's a tribute to the classic era of Marvel movies. There's even an end credits sequence that is honestly really sweet, and if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm referring to. The bulk of this movie is carried by the dynamic between its two leads, and they absolutely killed it. It's no wonder Ryan Reynolds has wanted to do this team up for so long. They're absolutely hilarious, and they play off each other so masterfully it's captivating to watch. Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine in this movie, and despite what some people believe, it wasn't because Marvel handed him a fat load of cash to do it. He's explained himself in interviews that he was vacationing one day and started thinking about where he most wanted to be. He realized that it was with Ryan on the set for Deadpool 3, so he called him up and told him he was on board for the movie, which is good because Ryan was having a difficult time figuring out what he wanted to do for the third movie until Hugh made that call. So the stage was set for one of the biggest movie duos on screen today, and in this respect, the movie lived up to every expectation and then some. Daphne Keane reprises her role as Laura, aka X-23 from Logan, and that's not a spoiler seeing as it was revealed in the final trailer for the movie leading up to the release date. She has more of a supporting role in the film, playing a large part in Wolverine's arc throughout the movie, and it's easily one of the better cameos Marvel has done. But don't think she's the only surprise inclusion in this movie, because there are plenty of welcome surprises and in-jokes to be enjoyed. Some of the weaker aspects of the movie involve, again, the plot, which I can't get into much here for spoiler's sake, and the villain, Cassandra Nova. The actress does a good job with what she's given, but if you don't already know who this character is, it's hard to get invested. They brush by her backstory so fast you can blink and miss it, and I say this as someone who went out to see this movie back-to-back 4 times consecutively, and am planning to go see it a 5th time later this week at the time of writing. But that alone should say all that needs to be said about what I thought of this movie despite the flaws I've mentioned. I'm eagerly awaiting for this to come out on DVD and Disney+, and it's the first time in a while I've been excited to stream or purchase a movie from this franchise since Spider-Man No Way Home. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are the anchors of this movie, naturally so being the leads, and they carry it so effortlessly on their backs. This is a buddy cop movie at heart with an extremely jokey and quippy character playing off a very grungy, down-to-earth, serious character. I don't want to spoil too much, but Hugh Jackman is allowed to play a very different kind of Wolverine thanks to being able to lean on and play off Ryan's Deadpool, but he still stays true to the core of who the character is and gets to have a pretty good arc of his own alongside Deadpool's. The action in this movie also kicks ass. Not only do Deadpool and Wolverine get multiple fights, they get multiple fights together against other people, and every single one, especially every fight involving Wolverine, is just mwah, chef's kiss. In addition to that, the opening sequence in this movie is the best I've seen in any movie in a long time. If you haven't seen this movie yet, I cannot recommend it enough. It's so much fun, and the back and forth between our leads is worth the price of admission alone. If you're an old school Marvel film fan, a Deadpool fan, a Wolverine fan, or an MCU fan, this movie is for you. It's dirty, it's exciting, but most importantly, it's entertaining. Go watch it now. If you have seen it, let me know what you thought in the comments. I may do a spoiler video sometime in the near future, because trust me, there's plenty more to talk about with this movie, and honestly, I can't give it anything less than 8 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed my experience, and I can't wait to see it again.
Outstanding.